Hello, I'm Gary Quinn, and welcome to another episode of Ready, Set, Live. My guest today is actress and director Donna Pescow. Her career spans 4 decades of work in theater, film, and television. She is known for her roles as Annette in the film Saturday Night Fever and was named Best Supporting Actress by the New York Film Critics Circle. Shortly after that, Donna starred as Angie Falco Benson in the popular 80s sitcom Angie. Her work on Angie garnered her a Golden Globe Award nomination for Best Actress in a Comedy Series and a People's Choice Award nomination for Favorite New Female Performer. In addition, she starred in the long-running sitcom Out of This World and the popular sitcom Even Stevens, for which she was nominated for 3 Emmy Awards. Don't go away. I'll be right back with Donna Pescow. Hello, Donna. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
It's so great to see you.
It's great to see you.
Oh, my God. It's Old Home Week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited. You know, your career has been, I would say, iconic. You know, and that's a good word. It just means that you have had longevity, which is so refreshing in the entertainment business. You started out as a little girl thinking, shall I be in show business? Or what was I know your grandfather was in vaudeville. Was that one of the, let's say, epiphanies?
It was, I think. He was a stage manager in vaudeville. He wasn't a performer. But he knew every conceivable bit that was ever done by any comic, and I grew up doing them with him. He would teach me who's on first, and there were all these old vaudeville, Niagara, the Slowly I Turned for that Niagara Falls, and so I was sort of raised to be a big ham. And then he was a movie projectionist when vaudeville went to film. I mean, when the theater that played vaudeville went to become a film theater, he became a projectionist. And I would spend Saturdays in the booth watching movies.
I love it.
So, I don't think there was ever a doubt. I didn't think of anything else to do.
It's very similar to Carol Burnett. She used to watch movies. I mean, that's what I mean. You were groomed, I believe, in some way for the entertainment business. Mm-hmm. And growing up in Brooklyn, you then went, what inspired you to go to the Academy of Dramatic Arts?
When I was in high school and everyone was talking about colleges and, basically what they were going to sort of aim for as a goal in their life, I knew that so early that I was not interested really in going to an academic world and then sort of minoring in theater, or really going into a 4-year college situation where theater was, sort of a part of it, but not necessarily getting me ready to go right out. And so I started looking into well-known, well-respected acting universities and schools, and that one just sort of spoke to me.
And the alumni, I mean, Danny DeVito, Vincent Schiavelli, who I used to work with. I mean, amazing opportunities of people to excel.
Extraordinary. And the thing about that school that was so great for, I think, everyone who went there was you had to keep being reaccepted into the next year.
Oh, really?
And in the senior year, it was really more of a rep company, and they would invite all the casting people and agents in New York and producers, whoever would come, and oftentimes people would have agents or jobs before they even graduated, or something to walk right into, which is what happened for me. I was able to start working in theater pretty quickly because I had agents who came
while
to
you were at school, or that?
No, I had to graduate first, but it was all lined up.
Okay,
so yeah,
great.
Yeah.
And was there a teacher? Because I know that sometimes there's someone that sort of validates you and says, "Donna, I see you. for who you are? I mean, was there someone that you could say, this man or woman said that to me?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's very true. There was a teacher at the academy. His name was Max Fisher, and he was just this extraordinary teacher that he was Max Reinhardt's Hamlet when he came to this country from Germany, and I think he came right before the war and had this sort of illustrious career before he started teaching. And he was just this no BS kind of guy who you kind of knew whether he thought anything was going to happen for you or not. And I was so young. I really was right out of high school, and I remember him saying, "You have to work very hard. I think you'll do it, but you have to work very hard." And he used to. At one point, he started calling me shrimp. I think, and I think I was as tall as him. So, but it was a very cute kind of dear little thing. He'd say, "Listen to me, shrimp." He'd say, "You have to," and he would give me these really tough roles to play in Shakespearean plays or Greek tragedy, which were so above and beyond my understanding. But that's why he did it. And he said, you have to work hard. It's not just knowing the background of some things. You need the background of everything.
And I think that's what is so important when someone enters the entertainment business or becomes an actor. They must be trained. Otherwise, you're just a personality and become just a celebrity, with no backbone.
Absolutely. And I always say there's a major difference between artistry and celebrity. And if you want to be an artist, you really need to train and you really need to work hard. And it's a constant learning experience. I don't think you ever, if you can go to class, go to class. I don't care what you've done in terms of, I used to go to class really right up until I'd say the 90s with the wonderful Milton Katselis, who
yes.
Had a fantastic master class here. And I worked with Lee Strasberg. I think it's just a constant elevating your own craft that will make you really have that longevity and really enjoy what you do.
Was there, because sometimes I think our background growing up prepares us for show business or prepares individuals for that road, because there was a lot of rejection. But was there a lot of rejection in your family growing up?
In terms of me?
In terms of, was your mom gung-ho that said, Donna, you're going to do it?
I was so lucky. I was really, really lucky. My, it's interesting you bring my mom up, because she had a very tough life. She was divorced in the 60s, when women had a hard time after they got divorced. And she worked... She worked in business as a bookkeeper, where she made very little money because women weren't making what they deserved at that time. And she worked hard to support my sister and I. And we were little kids who, my grandparents, we all lived together, And I think her guidance of do what makes you happy in your life, and if you're willing to work for it, you'll get it. Versus, because I think she struggled a lot because of the times, and also because I don't think she put herself first in many ways. So that taught me a lot, and they were very supportive of my going into this field.
I think parents, whether there's a mother or father present, that they really are the pioneers to really make our lives much better, because raising kids, I can imagine, is so difficult, especially back then, because she was a woman, single, working hard, and having to support two children.
Yeah.
I mean, was there ever a sense where you felt, I've got to make it big to help my mom and show her? I mean, because that's sort of full circle. And I remember having breakfast with your mom, and it was just...
She so loved you.
So amazing. You know, and I think you know, as our lives our process of each experience, we garner. It's really about love.
It is so true,
know?
Gary, and it's also about. I really think it's about knowing where you've come from, where you're going, and how you want to treat all of that and all of the people that are in that world with you. And you know, I was very fortunate, I think, to grow up in a situation where people worked for what they wanted and respected one another and didn't have preconceived ideas of entitlement or, you know, just kind of not being bratty. I don't know how else to. I think everybody gets bratty at one point in their life. If they hit success, I think I did for a while.
Right.
But it never felt comfortable. I think, you know, you start sometimes to believe the hype around
Correct.
you. And, I mean, you know me forever. And, you know, there were times I always felt like a deer in the headlights, that what was going on around me was so much bigger than I
Was inside.
Oh, and I kind of, it was almost like act as if, you know, oh, sure, I know what's going on. I know this person. And inside I'm this little girl, pardon me, this little girl who's panicking,
Correct.
saying, I'm going to say the right thing or the wrong thing. Do I know what I'm doing? You know?
Well, sometimes I think when you're in that adoration, that fame, you know, we sometimes can get confused, or individuals can somehow make the wrong decisions or do things that they go, ooh, why did I say that? Or what just came out of my mouth? And I've noticed over the years that, you know, it's not about judging it. It's about really, I had to go through that lesson, and that lesson taught me this.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, you know, if I said, what would have been, what was the biggest lesson you learned as so far in this life, just as a person in the industry?
You know, you know, the biggest lesson for me really is that you've got to be truthful to who you are, and you have to be happy with what you want, you believe in, and who sort of deserves to be in your orbit and who doesn't, and not try to please the whole world, but really be authentic about who you are. It took me a while, I think, to learn that, because I was so successful so young. You know, Saturday Night Fever was so enormous, and I had done, you know, theater before that, and good theater with great people, but I was nowhere near prepared to handle that kind of fame and notoriety. So, you know, it was a strange kind of roller coaster.
And I remember, you know, you said that your agent told you it was just a small little part when you auditioned for Saturday Night Fever. And so when you went on the interview, because I know it was a different director, John Avildsen from Rocky first, and so was there, it's just another audition, or was just like you didn't know it was, well, John Travolta?
I had no clue. No, I didn't even know John.
Right.
I don't think I knew John was even in the film. My understanding of film was so basically not there. I had never done anything on camera. I think I did an extra part in a soap opera, which, you know, certainly didn't focus me. So I didn't really understand what was going, which was a blessing, because had I understood more, I probably would have been more nervous. And the agent I had at that time just said, it's a little part. It's about a girl from Brooklyn. You're a girl from Brooklyn, and just and the auditions, for the most part, were improvised. So we had, you know, little sides, and there was another actor there for some of the time, where the director would say, "What would, you know, let's put a situation together," and, you know, so I was really not sure why they were spending so much time with me when it was such a little role. And until I got the role, I had no clue. When I read that script, I nearly died. I mean, I couldn't believe
And then when you actually got the part,
Yeah.
you went, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah, it was.
Was there excitement? Was there terror? Was there?
Yes.
Oh my God! What am I
Yes,
going to do?
To all of that.
And so, the first day of a rehearsal, because I know you rehearsed 2 weeks prior, was there this kind of, I'm here, I'm actually making a movie, and with Vinnie Barbarino, you know?
Well, first of all, John Badham is an incredible director who is an actor's director who loves the whole process, which is why we had rehearsal. John Travolta is literally the kindest, sweetest human being on the face of the earth. He wanted everyone to be comfortable and feel equal in importance, and the rest of the cast, with the exception of Karen had done All My Children, but most of the rehearsal I did was with the gang, the guys that were in John's orbit, because I didn't have any scenes with her. So, and it was everyone's first film with the exception of John. So we were all like a big acting class dealing with the work and the characters and not, this is a movie. Mm-hmm. And that was the vibe. So it was tremendous fun and tremendous prep to start working on the film once we did go to camera.
And once the film, let's say, premiered, and people started recognizing you, and I know you had an experience in New York City where that's her. Where was it? It was
there was a movie theater on Broadway, and I somewhere in the 40s. I can't remember what this, and they had at that time this little kind of, I want to say, TV encased in some kind of cinder block, which would show the previews of films coming up. And I was walking to an audition, I think, and I saw this group of people, and I'm thinking, what? And they were all sort of standing around, and they're all sort of bouncing around, and I kind of worked my way in there, and it was the trailer to Saturday Night Fever, which I had never seen. And I was just like, whoa, look, and I had just such an airhead, you know. And I have no clue that people are kind of putting together that it's me that they're looking at, and it's me that's watching this like a 5-year-old. And when they said, "Isn't that you? Isn't that you?" and I suddenly felt like, get out, quick, run, go. It was really scary. I mean, they were lovely about it, but it was really terrifying. I'd never been recognized, and somewhat, you know, the crowd sort of came towards me, and I thought, I need to go.
No, it can be overwhelming, I imagine. And so, you know, as you progressed, you came out to Hollywood, and you met Gary Marshall, who was interested in you for a sitcom called Angie, and he was the king of sitcom. So, Donna, how's it going?
That's
you know?
right, exactly.
And so once you met him, I know that there was, I mean, like you said, you come out to Hollywood after being in New York. You really, this was a first time sitcom. And did you know that you were going to do Angie, or you just felt, this sounds interesting? I mean, look at that picture. There you are with Robert Hayes and Gary Marshall.
That was a dinner for the Golden Globe folks.
Oh, yes.
Or they used to have these, or lunch or something. Yeah.
How great.
Well, first of all, having Gary Marshall pitch a show to you is as close to heaven as you can get on earth, because aside from the fact that he was the
king,
the sweetest man, he was so hilarious and funny. And if you remember, his office was like Disneyland, you know, with candy everywhere and just fun stuff to look at. And at that time, I was actually signed to a film that had gone into turnaround, or they were having rewrites. I can't exactly, but I was sitting around waiting for this to do this film, which, you know, who knew what it was. And I remember leaving Gary's office, and I said, I would love to do this, but I don't know if I can. And he said, what do you mean you don't know if you can? I said, well, I'm going to make this work. How could I not? And I made my agents crazy because there was no way I was going to give this up. So they were able to get me out of that other commitment. And it was just, fantastic. And
yeah, it was such a great cast. I mean, I was fortunate to be there and to see all these people, and that's why I think it's such a love story. With each opportunity brings you something, and most of those people aren't with us anymore. They're in spirit, but the remembering of that situation or that person is really, I mean, that's what we're going to take away in this lifetime is the relationships, the fun,
and what you've learned from them. I learned so much. Obviously, the cast was phenomenal on Angie, and I developed friendships with all of those people, and Robert Hayes and I are still really dear friends and godparents to each other's kids. I mean, it's really, Gary taught me about how to treat people without even realizing I knew how to treat people, but watching him was a great education in understanding that you could be working with someone and have certain needs from that person as a performer, but not forget that they're a human being and that they have their own life going on at the same time, and you kind of deal with the whole package versus just what you need from them. And he was really so amazing that's why people loved him, I think, because he cared. So it taught me that you could equally care about the person and the work and the total package without just getting sucked up into the job.
And I think that era of the entertainment industry doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, at that time, I remember at lunchtime you could see, Robin Williams, Mork and Mindy was there. You had Angie, you had, Laverne and Shirley, Taxi, Happy Days.
It was like sitcom college.
Correct.
It was really like going to the quad or,
Correct.
It was exactly that.
And I think those times are the remembering, all those people that sort of made an imprint on all of us that we're fortunate to be around that. What does, knowing that with our energy and how we evolve, what does the soul mean to you?
I think in many ways it's kind of like the I want to say the barometer, the thing that can really dictate the importance of something or the unimportance of something, or ultimately what you carry with you through your life as your own personal how-to book or your Bible or however you want to look at it. I think your soul develops. I mean, you can be an old soul and have great understanding of things just because you're lucky to have that. But I also think that ultimately, if you let it guide you a little bit through your life, you're going to be better off.
And I think, the gratitude that one has to learn, and sometimes it's not learned or you don't learn it until maybe 20 years later or your wisdom. And wisdom is always a teacher of knowing and not looking outside ourselves, feeling like, well, that will make me happy, or this situation will make me happy. It's really about, and this is what I've experienced in the last 3 years, is that no matter where we are in our lives, in any situation, we have to be happy. And happiness from the inside, not, oh, that's going to make me happy, or more of this. Or it's brilliant to have all these wonderful things that happen, but I think sometimes we take things for granted.
I completely
agree. And you're
agree
here
with you.
today, all of us, and then tomorrow, gone.
I think you're so right. And I think part of understanding gratitude is also understanding being in the moment and appreciating what's happening as it's happening versus trying to think of what you can do next or
Correct.
what happened before. And for me, I think the biggest lesson I learn it on a daily basis is to be present and to really appreciate what is happening as it's happening. You know, I look at these people who go to concerts and they're filming it and I think they're missing the experience, you know, because they're so busy filming it so they can look at it and say, I was there. Well, you're not there if you're not totally there. And that's most of what I'm trying to do, I think, is really be present. And I think it makes you better at what you're doing because you're focused more.
And I think when you're present, that's when you're open to the miracles because you have the Wi-Fi to love, confidence, energy, and miracles. And I think most people forget that because they're either in anxiety, stress, jealousy, fear, stress. So you shut that down and you really don't have the Wi-Fi. So I think the thing is to open up and to really be present in the now because that's all we have is
That's
the
so
now.
true. Yeah.
And how would you, because a lot of people are really struggling to really love themselves or find love. How would you define the word love?
I think for me, it's so all-consuming, but in a giving way, as well as accepting the love around you and that's being given to you. It opens you up to give more love. I think having wonderful miracles in my life, my son, my husband, my my life as an actor and as a mom and a friend, all of that, I think, becomes better when you are in that love, when you realize how fortunate you are to have that emotional world around you. And I think it balances out everything else because that is the most important thing you can have. And it makes everything else work. I think when people are struggling in their lives, part of it is because they don't feel the support or they don't feel they're understood or they don't feel they have an ally that can walk them through whatever it is. And I think for me personally, having all of that in my life and realizing the love that surrounds me has made me better in all ways and with other people.
And also, not having that, I believe some people are going through a silent suffering that they deny what love is, or they've been driven that career or that situation is what I have to create. Otherwise, I'm not loved.
Exactly. Well, again, that's so tied up with self-esteem and confidence and all of those things. And I mean, you talk about so much of this in your books and in your teaching. And, this saying yes, you have to say yes to the pain as much as you have to say yes to the joy so you can understand why it's happened, how to work your life around it, to get through it. You can't cherry pick. Life is going to throw whatever it throws at you, and you have to sort of accept that and not run from it, but somehow learn to work within it.
What is the biggest lesson your son has taught you?
That I can't that I can't manage every single aspect of someone's life because I love them. And for me, I mean, he's grown up, but letting go and not wanting to be mommy was very hard for me because, again, you know, I so love him and I so want everything for him that he wants for himself, but I had to lay back and let him experience what he needed to do to get that versus say, let me give it to you. Let me make 75 phone calls. You know, so, you know, I had to lay back and
let go.
Let go. And when I did that, he started to fly. I mean, he started, because what he had, which I believe, you know, we gave him, was this feeling of worth and this feeling that he could do what he wanted to. And if he didn't know what he wanted to do, he could still look for it. You know, you don't, it's very, very, I think the hardest thing about parenting is saying, you decide. And if you decide you need to make a change, that's okay. Even if you have a degree and even if you went on to do all this, it's okay. It's okay to find out who you are, because it may not be who I thought you were.
Right.
But once you realize that they are who they become who they should be, it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, that's great. If you could go back into history and ask someone a question, who would it be and what would you ask?
Wow.
Anybody. Could be in any field. Music, art.
Wow.
Lincoln, anybody.
Gary.
I know.
Wow. If I could ask anybody.
It could be someone that you said, oh, I want to ask this well-known actor or...
Well, I can say that, you know, I love Maya Angelou. Everything she's ever written just touches me to my core. And if I could spend a few minutes with her just listening, I don't even need to talk. I would, again, learn more. People like her who have had their own journey, but with life lessons that apply to every single person who ever has the good fortune to either read what they've written, hear them speak, or whatever, you know. So I'll pick her. I would, you know, just
hang out with Maya.
Yeah, Maya and I would go out and hang out. And...
I love it. What is your favorite smell?
My favorite smell? Oh, that's so interesting. Lemon. I don't know. It's a very cleansing.
Fresh.
Yes,
yeah.
it's like a beginning always to me. I don't know why. In fact, I have a perfume that has a sort of a lemony smell to it, and it's always makes me feel good.
Window or aisle?
Oh, window. Okay. I'm sure as I get older I'll need the aisle, but
I always prefer the aisle. Do you have a morning ritual at all? Coffee, walking.
Oh yeah, coffee certainly, and walking.
Journaling.
Yes, but I usually I try and have a little conversation with the universe. Okay. With my coffee. So I put out a few extra cups. But yeah, that's my little morning ritual, I think, is I pour my coffee. I always set it up the night before. And I get up a little bit earlier than my husband, so I have that little moment. And I just kind of try and solidify what I need for the day. Mm-hmm. And also what I'd like in my life for myself and other people. It's a quickie kind of thing. I do it at night, too.
Yeah, I think it's important to reflect on that. You know, I recently met Molly Shannon, and she was talking with Oprah about she used to write, when she was out of work actress, she used to write, "I will be on Saturday Night Live." And
That's
she was
it.
working at Cravens on Sunset. And she said people used to come in and she would buy tickets for people to come see her show.
That's hysterical.
And so the intention that one sets as a child or even as an adult, what's your next intention that you'd like to set? Because remember, there is no age limit.
No.
So you can create and do anything now.
You know, I'm so ready for this next chapter of just work that gives me artistic happiness. And I've gotten to a place where, you know, I always say accept a job for many reasons. One is, you know, for your artistic soul. One is for your financial well-being. And one is to scare the hell out of you. So I think I'm kind of ready artistically to take on roles that are so different and so not what people consider a Donna Pescow role. And I'm trying very hard to sort of see myself in those roles. So that's what I'd love to tackle next. And I talked to my team about that, you know, and there's a little head scratching going on and a little, well, okay, you know, and I say, but I want to be that person in Handmaid's, you know, I want to do the kind of work that people don't necessarily think of me in, and you know, and look completely different and all of that. And
well, that's where it comes to be where you create your own intention. Because remember, the universe is your casting director. And so all the other people are just the players. So if a person is invested in becoming that, you must be that every day. And that means the thoughts, the emotions, the energies of how you would feel if you are already there, because then you draw and magnetize it. Even if your team doesn't see it, they'll get a phone call and they'll say, "Oh, you know, there's this part that we thought Donna would be right for," and they go, "Oh, really? That's what she said."
That's great.
So you've got, you know, and
great.
I tell this to all. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. It works because you're working from the inside. Everything is from the inside. So the belief, the confidence, it's like you know, when your grandmother would make a cake, you know, you put the intention, the belief, the thought, the trust equals results. And so that's what people don't understand, because they're looking for, maybe there's a shortcut, or maybe if I meet this person. No. You will draw it to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's very funny. Years ago, I was fortunate to do this movie where the Dalai Lama was in it and his brother. And one of the things that he said was that you make friends with yourself inside, and whatever resistance there is, make amends to it and say, you know, I accept that. It's almost like the shadow part of all of us. And we say, I love myself, I accept myself, I honor all the good and the bad parts that I thought about myself to create change. And change is growth. I mean, it's a school. We're here for a lesson.
That's
you know?
brilliant. That's so brilliant.
So, quick questions. Heaven is
Around us all the time.
God is
A personal best friend, or a confidant.
very cool. I thank you for this special moment, and it's always a pleasure.
I am so thrilled. You have no idea. I just love and adore you, and I am so thrilled that you are doing what you're doing and giving so much to the world with your beliefs. And you and I go back so far, and
the supermarket shopping at midnight.
Hilarious. But you have always been, and we were kids, Gary. You have always been so insightful and so good to be around. You're a wonderful energy, a light, and I just love you. I don't know what else to say.
I love you back. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me, and we look forward for Donna's new epiphanies, new energies, new opportunities in all the great roles that are coming. I'm Gary Quinn. Join me for another episode of Ready, Set, Live. Until next time, be well.